Postgame here in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, the Georgia Bulldogs defeat the Texas Longhorns for the second time this season, responsible for both losses on Texas's resume. Justin Guzman, Gabriel Silva, I'm Joseph Duffy, and Justin, this game was just back and forth, a true defensive matchup.
Yeah, it absolutely was a defensive matchup, and you know, the two late picks, the Quinn interception that he threw towards the end of the fourth quarter, followed by the great play made by Jahdae Barron to get the ball right back for Texas, was really a microcosm sort of this game. The defenses really showed out throughout the entire game. Texas in the first half was able to get down the field, but not able to ever punch the ball into the end zone. That was a big story. And then for Georgia, they really couldn't do anything in the first half. Carson Beck goes down, Gunnar Stockton comes in. He kind of provided a spark, but then just the inability of the offenses giving Georgia some shorter fields really helped spark the Dogs and get them the points that they needed to overcome the adversity early in this game.
And really in that first drive of that second half, once we heard news that Carson Beck was now returning, he seemed like he really lit this team on fire and drove them down the field. Didn't score a touchdown that first drive, but you can tell that Texas's defense wasn't necessarily prepared for Stockton.
Yeah, you know, the Texas defense, they did all they could. They held Georgia to a very low amount of yards throughout the first three quarters. I think it took them up to the third quarter to finally break 100 yards total. So the Texas defense did its job. Like Goose mentioned, the offense could not punch the ball in throughout the first half. That was the big key issue for the reason why Texas found themselves in a tight game. They could have easily been up 20-plus points if they had locked the ball into the end zone. So a lot of the offensive struggles, you know, reared its ugly head back again for this Texas team.
Yeah, red zone defense for Georgia, especially the story today, again, rearing its ugly head. The rush offense, or a rush attack rather, for Texas was dominant last week against the A&M Aggies. Tonight, 31 yards total as a team.
Yeah, last week, like you mentioned, Quintravion Wisner had 20-plus carries and 186 yards. This week, we only had 30 rush yards total. So the offensive line couldn't get the same push they had last week against A&M. And, you know, it was a question mark coming into the season when we knew that C.J. Baxter was going to go down, and now Quintravion Wisner's taking the heavy load. But it's been a question mark throughout the year, and like you mentioned, Joe, it reared its ugly head yet again, and it was a key point in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I felt like the running game was really the reason the offense struggled to get it in the end zone. If they would have been able to run the ball whatsoever, the play action would have worked a little bit better. And that was really where Georgia was able to key in the second half. There was no play action. Quinn Ewers couldn't push the ball down the field like he was able to do early in that first half. And, you know, we talked about it, Gabriel just talked about it, the inability to get the run game going, and Trey Wisner, who's had such a good last couple weeks, Georgia's been able to stop that twice now. So if these two teams go head-to-head once again, that's going to be a huge storyline later on in the college football playoff. And Texas is going to need to both get healthy and get that going again if they want a chance to really compete down the stretch.
Yeah, Texas's next matchup is in 2 weeks. Again, as we stand here Saturday night, we don't know who Texas will face in that matchup in 2 weeks. But, you know, Coach Sarkisian still remained a little bit level-headed, and all the players really remained level-headed and optimistic for what is to come. Again, this new 12-team college football playoff system allows teams to really still compete even after, you know, bouncing out of what could be the top four now. So looking ahead for Texas, do they still have a great chance at winning the national championship, in your opinion, and what must they do to get back on the right track?
I absolutely think Texas still has a good chance to win a national championship. When your team is built around the defense, that enables you so much down the stretch of the season and gives you more options in how you can win games, right? We hear so often the cliche that defense wins championships, but it's true. We think about some historic NFL teams, the Legion of Boom, Seattle Seahawks, relying on that defense. Texas can rely on their defense to win games. The offense had multiple opportunities tonight where they didn't manage to punch it in, like we've already talked about. And if that gets fixed, if Texas gets in the end zone just one more time, a couple of those missed Auburn field goals connect, Texas wins this game.
Yeah, and going back to the college football playoff, right now we don't know where they're going to be. You know, if they're going to be a 5, 6, 7 seed. I think their draw for the college football playoff is going to be the biggest indicator for how far this Texas team could go. It looks like right now they're going to be hosting a home playoff game, right? And if they can avoid taking on a number 1 Oregon and a number 2 Georgia in that semifinal, in that quarterfinal round, the path to a championship is a lot easier for Texas. So it's going to be interesting to see when the rankings come out in the morning where Texas is going to land. I think they're a championship caliber team like Justin mentioned, with their defense. And, I mean, they proved it today. They can hang around with a team like Georgia. You know, they bounced back after a loss in mid-October. So it's going to be interesting to see how this Texas team is going to, you know, try and prepare for the playoffs, as now they have a good break, some time to rest, some time to reset going forward.
All right, interesting coverage for us here in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. That will do it for us tonight here in this wonderful stadium. We do want to thank you once again for the Moody College of Communication and also the Center of Sports Communication Media for sponsoring our coverage. It has just been an amazing weekend of football here in Atlanta, Georgia. And for Justin Gooseman, Gabriel Silva, I'm Joseph Duffy here at TCV Sports. Have a good night.